So it's September 2006. Special Forces have been in and out of the country for years, but this is the first Australian regular army deployment to Afghanistan, to the south of the country, in Tarin Kowt. There's about 100 of us getting ready to roll out the gate for the very first time. All our vehicles are lined up between two massive walls. These walls are about 2 stories high, big wire cages filled with rammed earth. There's about a football field between the inner and the outer wall. But it looks nothing like a football field. There's no grass, no green. Everything's dirty and dusty and brown. And I can feel the grit and dust in my teeth and in my hair and in the sweat that runs down my back underneath my body armour. I check my rifle. Weapons need constant attention in this hot and dusty environment. And it's a fine balance between enough oil to keep the working parts lubricated and not so much you turn the whole thing into mud. We're waiting for the order to move, and I can see the nerves playing out in front of me. My own heart is definitely racing. So some people move from foot to foot, move from different groups. Others jabber nervously to their teammates. Some retreat into their own thoughts. And there's a ton of bravado, backslapping, high-fiving, sort of psych-up behaviour that goes on as well. About 1,000 cigarettes are smoked and shared. I'm thinking about the role I need to do. My job in Afghanistan was to intercept and analyse enemy communications and give advice on the battlefield. I needed to find out what the enemy was saying, what their intent was, and then tell the boss so we could decide what we wanted to do about it. There are a lot of unknowns in Afghanistan. So lots of us had never actually worked together before, and we didn't know how the community really felt about us, or what the enemy were going to do. And there's always a lot of unknowns in the military. You get comfortable with the ambiguity. And there's this ever-present potential for rapid and unplanned change. And in that environment, when you're about to roll out the gate for the very first time in a new country too, there's also the unknowns of every soldier questioning themselves. How am I going to go when it all goes down? Because you hope that you'll be brave, but you don't know until you're there and until you actually know. And so that's what I think the nerves are really about. And so in that environment, the commander actually has to get 100-odd people, all with different roles and responsibilities, to focus and to deliver. How do you do that despite those nerves, despite that fear, despite all that rapid and unplanned change that's going to come? How do you get people to understand not just their own role, but how they contribute to the overall mission? So the military actually does this amazingly well, and it's called commander's intent. And there's a lot we can learn from commander's intent too, when we think about it in leadership in other organisations also. So lots of teams, lots of organisations spend huge amounts of time and money trying to figure out, how do I motivate my people, and how do I get them all working together towards one goal? Now, commander's intent can actually help them achieve this. Commander's intent starts by clearly and articulately explaining what the end state looks like. It's what the battle space should look like at the end of the mission. It's what success looks like. And it works because it describes what needs to be achieved without prescribing how. So your commander's intent might look something like this. Capture Brown Hill, neutralising all enemy and capturing all roads and bridges between the Nomad Beach and the Candy River. Now below this, each unit will have more details about what they're going to do. So your armoured unit will know where I'm dropping my infantry patrols and what bridges I need to go back and secure. Those infantry soldiers will know exactly how I'm securing the drop zone for the paratroopers to land safely. The paratroopers will know when and where they're landing and what they need to do once they get there. Everybody knows their own role and their unit's role, but what guides them when things don't go as planned is that commander's intent. It's pretty much a mission statement. And I know all you leaders out there are going, yeah, lady, I've got a mission statement. This is nothing new. But what I ask you is this. Is your mission statement strong enough so that when you're not there and other leaders aren't there, do people still know what to do? If I join your team today and you ask me, what are you doing? Will I say I'm capturing bridges and roads between Nomad Beach and the Candy River? Or will I only know my own role? Now this is particularly important when we start to think about the future of work. So the gig economy looks very much like the military on operations. There is centralised intent, but dispersed execution. So one big goal with multiple people in multiple locations, doing the executing. And if all those people don't know what they're contributing to in terms of that big mission, then organisations could find themselves with lots of people doing lots of work without achieving the desired outcome. Now, commander's intent also calls on a sense of purpose. For me in Afghanistan, my sense of purpose came from my job. I need to intercept what the enemy is saying, provide great advice. When I do this well, I can get us out of harm's way. When I don't, there are dire consequences. And this is true for all my teammates too. Each has a role that's essential and important, and with dire consequences if they get it wrong. Everybody understands what they need to do, and also the critical outcomes if they fail. Now the military has an advantage here. I give my all because lives depend on it. And although work may not be a matter of life and death, I believe organisations can benefit from a similar sense of purpose. Research out of Deloitte and the Journal of Occupational Health Psychology suggests that organisations with a sense of purpose enjoy improved employee wellbeing, better team performance, and greater financial outcomes. And we see this time and again in successful companies. So rather than talking about cheapest airfares, Southwest Airlines talks about democratising the skies. When I buy a pair of glasses from Warby Parker, they'll donate a pair, 1 for 1, to someone in need. Instilling the value that what you do not only matters, but also is for the greater good, has a profound impact on a team's productivity. And no amount of bonus can create the same personal drive as doing something that really matters. And so for commander's intent to work, it's not enough to simply know the end game and have a sense of purpose. You also need some trust going on, because without trust, none of the rest of it works. And the more trust you give your people, the more they can make decisions and the faster you can move. It's that centralised intent but dispersed execution again. One mission, but power to those who can actually make the decisions on the ground. As a leader, you need to realise you can't be there all the time, and so you need to give that power away. That power on the ground is really important, not just for people making decisions, but also for making decisions without sign-off. So in the midst of a firefight, you don't have time to get 45 people's sign-off on a one-page memo. I don't have time to change the pack from Arial 12 to Times New Roman 11, so some bloke who's not even there can make one decision. If that's your decision-making process in the military, everyone's dead. It's the people who are right here who have the most information and the most current information. They're the ones that understand the subtle nuances of that situation. And so they are the ones that should be making the decisions. And when it comes to decisions, speed matters too. Because when you're making decisions, you're moving forward. And the faster you can make decisions, the faster you can move forward. So in the military, we talk about 80% on time is better than 100% late. If that infantry patrol that needs to secure the drop zone for the paratroopers is supposed to be there at 3, and they don't get there till 5, all those paratroopers will be shot out of the sky. What's important is that you get the job done, not how you do it, or not whether you followed the plan exactly. And this trust is going to be essential in workplaces of the future too. People will be working in remote teams, remote workforces, and so leaders and workers will need a much deeper level of trust between them. I believe it'll be those leaders that can develop that trust that will see their teams move faster, so they'll fail faster, produce their minimum viable product faster. They'll be the most successful teams. It'll be those that can distribute their decision-making power down the chain that will enjoy the most engaged workers, the most agile thinkers, and the most adaptive teams. And from what we know about the future of work, those will be the skills that we'll be in critical need of. And so I'd encourage you to think about how Commander's Intent might work for you, your leadership of yourself and of others. How do you communicate your mission, create a sense of purpose, and build trust? Because the future of work will need flexible and adaptable leaders, just like the military does. Thank you.